So why is the gap closing so much between the USA and the world in basketball? We all have our reasons. I certainly have mine, but I was really started thinking about it more the other day watching the NBA draft. And the first two players in the draft were French. Zachary, I forgot his last name, and then Alex Sarr. And they were even teammates at one point. And then I think the number 4 pick or another pick somewhere in the top 5 was another foreign guy. And I'm like, dang. Last year, number 1 was Wembanyama. And then I started thinking about NBA MVPs in the last 10 years. And Jokic just won a few of them. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, like all big men who were born outside of the U.S. Like, they're doing something different overseas that obviously we're not doing here in the U.S. because they're literally closing the gap. Like, all the best players in the world, I mean, you can even throw in Luka Doncic hasn't won an MVP, but he's a top 5 player in the NBA, or in most people's opinion. And he's from Lithuania or I forgot, Serbia, one of them. I'm sorry, I forgot where Luka's from, but he's not from the U.S. So I was thinking, man, what is it? Like, watching Olympic basketball and looking at these things, looking at the draft and MVPs and just watching a lot of basketball over the years and going back to when I was a kid, I'm like, is it a skill thing? Maybe they're just emphasizing skill and team basketball more overseas as opposed to here with AAU, and it's just throw together a team and it's just run and jump. And nowadays, you look online and they think every person that can do a jelly finger roll, or in America with American kids, every person that can do a jelly finger roll or dunk as a high school sophomore now suddenly an NBA prospect. And it just seems to be an emphasis on threes. They want everybody to be able to shoot like Steph Curry. And shooting threes is important. But dang, there's a whole lot more to the game of basketball than that. Because Americans, they seem to go overseas and play these international competitions and they can't dominate anymore. Like in the last one, they should have been... that wasn't the best team that America should have sent. But they still should have won the whole thing with the talent that they have. Or that they had with that team. But I think one thing is an emphasis here on this small ball and like these 6'6" and 6'5" centers. But then American teams, they go play in the international competitions and they get out rebounded like crazy because these people have traditional centers, and nobody in USA basketball seems to realize that size matters in the game of basketball. If you have 7-footers, they're going to out rebound guys that are 6'5". I mean, I figured that was common sense, but apparently it isn't. But I think, it just seems to be an emphasis on skill overseas rather than substance in the U.S. It's all about the highlight. You can go back many, many years and see guys that were flying out of the gym with ballerslife.com and all these other online mixtape services. Cassius Stanley, Quay Parker. There was a guy named Shaquille Johnson. I think he went to play for Auburn. And he could flat out fly. Never got close to the NBA. I mean, he was in high school doing some crazy dunks. We all know what Cassius Stanley was doing. Left Duke after a year. And where is he now? Playing in Israel or something like that. Quay Parker never even got close. And there's a whole lot of other ones. But these are the people that the U.S. is looking at and thinking, Well, they must be guys that are going to play in the NBA in Seventh Woods. I remember the first time I saw his mixtape, I was like, dang. Dunking over people when he was like a ninth grader, taking off, and never got close to the NBA. But then you get guys like Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic. Luka was he was projected to be good. I don't know if anybody thought he would be this good. Jokic was a second round pick. Why? Because they probably thought he was a big guy that was looked at as being not athletic enough and being too slow in the NBA. Now he's widely considered the best player, not only in the NBA but the whole world, because of everything he brings to the game. I mean, all around game. Now, that doesn't seem to be taught here anymore. I think part of it is because people they seem like that they think they're too good to go back to basic basketball. Like it's all about step back threes and Euro steps, which if you can call it there's a reason it's called Euro step, because it was created in Europe, somewhere outside of the U.S. That's my point. Basic ball handling, things like that. Guys in the NBA travel so much, and they always look at the ref like, bro, you walked. Like you're not too good to travel. You have a pivot foot. You have to pivot off that foot, meaning you can't turn around and square up on your left foot and then take a step and reverse pivot on your right foot. That's what you call a travel. I mean, I've seen the mixtapes of, well, not mixtapes, but the footage or the clips of LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, two of the best that the game has to offer. LeBron, I think, was against the Washington Wizards, and Russ was against the Golden State Warriors. LeBron got the ball past half court and is literally walking with it, trying to set up the offense, not dribbling the ball whatsoever, walking up the court. And the guy that's guarding him was like, are you going to call that? And then Westbrook, he was against the Golden State Warriors, got the ball inbounded to him and just took off walking without dribbling. And Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are like, look at this dude. I'm like, these are professional basketball players. This is what people in the U.S. are watching. This is like two of the best the game has to offer. LeBron's one of the GOATs. These guys have represented the country overseas, playing for the U.S. But I don't know what's happening in the USA basketball. It's just everybody now, they want to rush off to the NBA too fast. It's like, I think it might be good for possibly for the U.S. to follow the overseas model. Like, not everybody's going to make it, but start letting some of these guys play with the big boys when they're 14, 15 years old, like Luka. I think he was playing professional when he was 14 or 15. You correct me if I'm wrong on that. Then he gradually moved up to the senior team and became a star player. Guys here, they're just not serious enough. I don't know. I don't know what people are working on in the gym. And if you have a goal in mind, and which is the NBA or the pros, focus. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's just so much outside noise with USA basketball. A lot of guys overseas, they don't have the exposure that we have. Like, we're the biggest country. We have the most media. I think some guys overseas is just, they're probably practicing basic basketball and 3-man weaves and all that other stuff. People over here and in the NBA, some of these players, they don't respect coaches at all. They get coaches fired. It's like so many players, they seem like they know more than the guy that's coaching them, and they don't respect them. So it's another thing, is just the attitude of American players, and I think that kind of seeps down into other levels because no matter where you grew up here, everybody's watching the pros. Like, everybody's watching the NBA. Everybody in the NBA grew up watching the NBA, and everybody before them watched the generation before them, and so forth. That's what everybody's doing now, and a lot of these habits, they're seeping down into amateur basketball, and it's not good for the game. I mean, I think people underestimate just basic ball handling drills, just basic drills, like not being with a trainer and just doing the stuff that you were taught when you were a little kid that made you fall in love with the game. A lot of guys these days, they'll just spend 30 minutes to an hour in the gym getting no work in, but they're trying to dunk a basketball. I'm like, that's all good, but that's not going to help you advance in your game. You didn't get any better at basketball. You were just sitting there working on your hops. Or they get distracted by the opposite sex. Like, some girl is keeping them out of the gym or whatever. It's like, dude, whatever you're getting from her, you can get from somebody else. If you're focused, then I'm not saying that people don't deserve love or anything like that. But if you got a goal in mind, don't let anybody or anything stop you from getting in the gym and working. It just seems to be, there's almost like too much exposure now for us Americans. And people, they'll get in the gym and, they'll barely hoop. They're just worried about being seen on camera. And I post videos, you know what I'm saying? I post videos of myself shooting and dribbling and stuff. But I'm to the point where I'm not going to be in the league. I'm not going to be a pro. You know what I'm saying? I'm good with that. I'm talking about the people that are coming up now that might actually have a chance. Like, don't think you're too good to do basic basketball drills. Don't just focus on how high you can jump. You know what I'm saying? Like, really get in the gym and work on your skills and shoot the basketball. Don't be a Ben Simmons. You know what I'm saying? NBA, we all sit up and watch how NBA players act like babies now. Like, these guys can get paid $50 million and don't even play. That's the attitude of America right now. That's why we're being passed over. That's part of why we're being passed over by guys overseas. And they're just getting better because of these things. Like, look at some of these squads. Look at the French squad. Like, they got a squad. Multiple NBA players. Look at the Canadian squad. With Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, RJ Barrett. These teams are no joke. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say about that, because year after year you see guys that are from overseas coming over here and winning the MVPs and getting picked first in our draft. But they're passing over our players. And these are the reasons that I think that stuff is happening. But yeah, this is a long video. If you watched it, thanks for watching. Maybe there's some kid out there that'll see this that might play in the NBA one day. Man, good luck to you. But peace, everybody. Have a good one.